My name is Madison Glassco, and this is my Arduino Porch Pirate project. The idea of my project was to deter off any future package thieves by using a flashing LED and a loud buzzer when the package is open. Thank you.
Here is my flowchart for the project. So as you can see, if we start at the top, the code has been started and the pins and wiring have been configured. We then go to that the system always begins in a disarmed state. That means that the state equals 0 and trig equals 0, meaning that the button has not been pressed and the LED and alarm are off. Then we go to see if the button has been pressed. If the arm button has not been pressed, the state will continue to be equals 0, and it will continue in this loop until we see that the button has been pressed, because state equals 1, and that puts the system in an armed state, meaning state equals 1 but trigger equals 0, because although the system is armed, the box is still closed and the LED and alarm are still off. Then we check if the package is open. If the package is open, then that means that the values that the ultrasonic sensor are reading are greater than or equal to the value of the opened box. So that then puts the system in an armed state, and so state equals 1 and trigger now equals 1. So the LED and the alarm will start going off because the box has been opened. If the package has not been opened, that means that the values the ultrasonic sensor are reading are less than the open value, and so it will continue in this loop until the box is opened. Once the box has been opened and the LED and alarm are on, we will continue to see if the button has been pressed, so if it's still armed. And if the button still is pressed, so meaning it has not been pressed again, so no, so state will still equal 1, and the system will still be in that armed state with the LED and alarm going off. If the button is pressed again, yes, then the state will go equal to 0, and that will put it back in this disarmed state where it goes through the loop again. Thank you.
Here are the components that I used. On the top are my two deterrents, which are a loud buzzer that I bought off of Amazon in an RGB flashing LED, and then I have my ultrasonic sensor and my push button, which all three of those I had in my Arduino kit. Here is my actual system in the prototype, where you can see all three components are connected to the breadboard, which is then directly connected to the Arduino Uno that is being powered by a 9-volt battery. Here is a wiring diagram of my system where you can get a better view of how everything is actually connected and working.
Here's my code for the project. You can see I start with initializing all of my variables and what pins they will be in, and turning on my distance, the ultrasonic distance sensor. Then I set up by making my alarm and all of the LED lights as outputs, and the button being pressed as an input pull-up, because it needs to be an input and an output. And inside of my loop, I have my distance sensor being read and setting that equal to a variable called values. And then I turn on my button to be reading if it's being pressed or not. And then I start with my if statements. Right now it's reading as if the button were pressed because it's low. And if the state is at 0, that means it is unarmed, and if it's at 1, that means it's armed. So here we see if state's at 0, that's going to keep the trigger at 0, so that means the alarm is going to stay off and the LEDs will stay off. Here, if the state is equal to 1, that means that the system is armed, and so then we can start reading whether the box is open or not. So here we have that values is less than or equal to the open value. That means it's not been opened, and so the trigger is 0, and that will keep the alarm off. Here, if the values is greater than open, that means the box has been opened, and we will set trigger equal to 1, and that's going to trigger the deterrence. So if trigger is equal to 1, that's going to turn on the alarm, and it will go on and off, repeating at 1 second each. And the LED will begin flashing red, white, and blue also. And then the loop ends. Thank you.
Here is a video showing the activation button working and the system in action.
Here's how my activation button works. Right now the button hasn't been pressed, so the system's not activated. So when you open the box, nothing happens. But when you press the button to activate the system and then you open the box, you can see that the system begins going off and will continue to go off until the button's pressed again.
Here are my references. Thank you.